Hi, my name is George. I want to welcome you to my system software security video. It's a short video talking about OS hardening, some of the procedures and practices. Also, in this video we'll talk about security applications and why it's important to implement them. Now, let's talk about defensive behavior as a system administrator. One of the biggest things you can do to defend your network is to remove unnecessary software, services, okay, and ports. Close the ports you're not using. All software, unfortunately, I hate to say, comes buggy out the door. It's not until after it's released that software vendors release patches to fix numerous problems. So as system administrators, we need to stay up to date with these latest patches for software, be it productivity software or operating system software or network operating system software. Now we always have to read about the latest service packs on the vendor's website, and in between, as we know, service packs comes updates. In between updates we get patches, and in between patches we get hotfixes. The hacker underworld is always exploiting vulnerabilities. They're always finding out about vulnerabilities, so the vendor releases hotfix to plug up security holes. Very good, let's move on to another branch. Now, one way to manage patches and updates and service packs is the use of software. There's packages out there that, such as WSUS. If you have Microsoft products, then they give you this product for free. And basically, you're, as a system administrator, you have a centralized location where you allow or deny any updates coming down the pipe to your clients, to your network. And on the subject of management of patches, in an ideal situation, you want to have a lab server set up where you will first test an update before applying it to the live production server, because you never want to install a patch or an update that brings production to a halt. This may cause an RGE for you and resume generating event. So in an ideal situation, it's not always possible, set up a lab server, test the updates on the lab server. Also, as system administrator, you and management need to come up with policies. Management needs to get together with IT staff, and also supervisors will hopefully talk to their people, managers with the supervisors, and we'll all come up with a synergistic plan to keep the network secure, to keep productivity flowing, and that policy will be clear, everybody will know about it, and the system administrator will enforce it. It does no good to have a policy that's comprehensive and everybody knows about, but is not being enforced. Now this would be, of course, network acceptable usage. This includes acceptable usage policy. So before I leave this branch here, just remember, if you're going to set up automatic updates on the clients, it may not always be a good idea because some of the updates might conflict with software you have installed. If you set it and forget it, it might cause some trouble for you in the future, because you'll get phone calls about the software not working. But if you have many workstations to worry about, this is probably your best option, because you need to keep yourself up to date on all workstations with patches, updates, service packs. There's tools out there such as WSUS. Of course, other third-party packages that have more functionality. However, this is a free package. Now, I put the Active Directory on this branch because it's basically a management tool. Active Directory is a management tool. Helps administrators manage from one centralized location, users, resources on the network. Lets you set up, of course, groups based on their roles. Excellent, let's move on. Okay, one of the biggest challenges that you will face as a system administrator is to have the patience to compile a baseline for your network. You want to spend the time to study your network, even on weekends and at night. You want to monitor memory usage and bandwidth usage, disk usage. You want to compile information from industry standards. Okay. Also history, what's gone on in the past. What have other system administrators at that company dealt with before you? There are associations out there who are coming out with just so much information, white papers that you can read to help you compile a solid baseline. Talk to other administrators. There's other administrators running into the same challenges as you. Don't be shy. Make friends. Put your pride to a side and ask questions. Because it is your job to know all of the vulnerabilities inherent with every system. And as we all know, every system has vulnerabilities. It's just a matter of keeping those risks, those threats to an absolute minimum. Now next I want to talk about examples of services that could be running on your box that you may not need. Okay, of course you want to stop these services if you're not using them, if you don't need them. For example, if you're running a database server, then you're not going to need DHCP. Turn it off. Okay, it's one less thing you have to worry about. Also, turn off web server. In Microsoft, it's internet information services. Turn it off. You don't need it. You're running a database server. You're running an SQL database server. Also, you may have a mail relay running. Again, you don't need it. Turn it off. File and print sharing is not necessary. If this database server is running solely as a database server, of course, unless you're limited, it all depends on your needs, but unless you're very, very limited on resources, try not to combine servers. If you're going to run an SQL server on a box, don't also make it a print server or a file server, unless you absolutely need to and the company is relatively small. So turn off all these services and you will decrease your attack surface, because all of these services, as we know, have inherent vulnerabilities. Now let's talk a little bit about security applications such as antivirus. You gotta have antivirus on every client workstation, and you gotta keep the signature files updated. Okay, management, it's gonna have to be part of the budget. You're gonna have to discuss this with. You get a new server, obviously you're gonna have to buy a client. You're gonna have to buy a license for that server. Don't make the mistake of forgetting to add antivirus to the budget. Once you, as we mentioned before, established all the parties affected have agreed to a baseline, agreed to a policy, and you have compiled a baseline through many weeks of monitoring. You produce templates, security templates. These are minimum security configurations and minimum documented configurations. You're going to need to apply these templates, and you're going to need to enforce the policy as a system administrator. Of course, as we touched on before, every piece of software has built-in vulnerabilities, and they can be real threats because they can open backdoors, okay, to your system. They could result in privilege escalation, or they could just cause denial of service, service disruption to your customers. Put up as many layers of defense that you can without disrupting productivity. Put up your firewalls, okay, use the technology out there. Work it into your budget. Work it into your budget, this defensive technology. Because it's not a matter if you get hit or attacked, it's just a matter of when. Do not think to yourself, well, we're not we're not being targeted by anyone. We're just a small bread company, or there's no reason why people would come after us. Don't assume that. Hackers can conveniently hack you from their bedroom, okay, without leaving the convenience and safety of their home. They will probe your network for vulnerabilities. So use the tools, set up a firewall, set up a policy,